The same man who declared the V8 engine dead on national television is the same man who just brought it back and had to call it a mistake on company letterhead.
We own it, we got it wrong, and we're fixing it.
Here's what we're investigating. Why did Ram kill the Hemi in the first place? Because federal regulations turned every V8 truck into a financial liability, costing automakers hundreds of millions in fines per year. What happened when they replaced it with a six-cylinder? 40% of Ram's own buyers walked straight to Ford and Chevy. And how did the V8 actually come back?
The same people that killed the Hemi sent me out here with these comments. That's not happening.
Something shifted at the government level that changed the entire math, and nobody is covering that part. Before anyone can understand how the Hemi came back, they need to understand how certain everyone was that it was gone for good, including the people who built it. In 2021, Tim Kuniskis, then CEO of Dodge, sat down for an interview and delivered what sounded less like a business update and more like an obituary. He stated that the days of the supercharged V8 were absolutely numbered because of compliance costs. He did not say, "We're working on it." He did not say, "Stay tuned." He said, "numbered," out loud, on camera, which is the corporate equivalent of telling someone their dog is fine, right before a long pause. For years, automakers had been living under CAFE, corporate average fuel economy standards. Every manufacturer had a fleet-wide fuel economy target to hit. Miss it, and the government charged a fine per vehicle, per mile per gallon short of the target. For a company selling hundreds of thousands of V8-powered trucks every year, those fines ran into the hundreds of millions of dollars. A 5.7-liter Hemi wasn't just an engine. On the compliance ledger, it was a penalty. The government had essentially figured out how to make Ram pay extra every time a customer bought the truck they actually wanted. Engineers tried everything to keep the Hemi alive. Cylinder deactivation that shuts off half the engine at highway speeds, variable valve timing, and a 48-volt e-torque mild hybrid system that bolted an electric motor to the crankshaft. It was the engineering equivalent of putting a suit on a lawnmower and hoping nobody checks. Eventually, the math stopped working anyway. The replacement was the Hurricane, a twin-turbocharged 3.0-liter straight six engineered to match V8 torque numbers while posting better fuel economy. Ram went all in. The 2025 Ram 1500 launched with no V8 option for the first time in decades. The Hemi was gone. Officially. Publicly. Permanently. Ram told dealers to stop taking Hemi orders. Ram told customers the Hurricane was the future. Ram told itself this was fine. Or so they said. The customer reaction was not a small grumble. It was a coordinated rejection. The moment Ram's 2025 lineup dropped without a V8, forums lit up. Truck owners didn't file complaints. They started posting side-by-side spreadsheets comparing Ram versus Ford F-150 and Ram versus Chevy Silverado, both of which still offer V8s. They tagged Ram social accounts. They emailed dealers. They showed up at lots asking specifically when the last Hemi-equipped models were available, then bought those instead. Dealers were reportedly moving old Hemi inventory at a pace that suggested buyers were treating 2024 Ram 1500s like the last helicopter out. The Charger and Challenger comparison surfaced immediately. Dodge had retired those models, replaced them with an electric platform, and watched a wave of brand loyalty evaporate. Enthusiasts who had bought Chargers for decades simply stopped. Ram doing the same thing to the truck segment, in the same 3-year window, to the same general customer, was either a remarkable coincidence or a lesson that didn't take the first time. Truck buyers are statistically the most brand-loyal segment in the American automotive market. Getting them to switch brands is supposed to be nearly impossible. Ram managed to do it by taking away an engine. Sales data told the story no press release could spin. Ram's numbers softened. Ford and GM gained ground. Stellantis CEO Antonio Filosa got the message, presumably while looking at a spreadsheet he did not enjoy. Most people assumed Ram killed the Hemi over engineering. The Hemi was killed over fines. CAFE standards have been tightening since the 1970s, but the pace accelerated sharply through the 2010s. By the time the 2020s arrived, every truck manufacturer was managing a compliance problem in real time. The calculation was simple. A V8 heavy lineup meant a poor fleet average, which meant fines, which meant the engine was costing the company money before a single customer complained about the fuel economy. The truck was too good at being a truck. That was the problem. The Hemi V8 was never built to win an efficiency contest. It was built to pull 11,000 pounds and sound like it means it. Every time one sold, it dragged the fleet average down and pushed the fine total up. That's why the e-torque hybrid system was added, not to improve the V8, but to make its fuel economy numbers survivable on paper. Ram was essentially asking a 5.7-liter V8 to pretend to care about efficiency. The engine was not conceived, and neither were the regulators. The Hurricane Straight 6 was the answer the spreadsheet demanded. Smaller displacement, twin turbos, modern combustion architecture. It could match the V8 torque on paper while posting significantly better fuel economy numbers. On a compliance chart, it was a clean fix. In a Ram owner's driveway, it sounded like a European rental car and made the same torque numbers a different way, which to someone who spent 30 years listening to a Hemi is roughly the same as fixing a campfire by installing overhead lighting. The Hemi wasn't pulled because it stopped working. It was pulled because the rules made it too expensive to sell. That distinction matters because it means the moment the rules changed, the entire justification for pulling it disappeared, and the rules were about to change in a way nobody in the industry had priced in. What happened next is the part Ram probably hoped the internet would forget. The internet did not forget. The internet screenshotted it. In June 2025, Tim Kuniskis, now back at the helm as Ram brand CEO, said exactly this. Everyone makes mistakes, but how you handle it defines you. Ram screwed up when we dropped the Hemi. We own it, and we fixed it. A sitting CEO of a major automaker calling his own product decision a screw-up in a press release. Not, we listen to customer feedback. Not, we're evolving our powertrain strategy. Screwed up.
We own it, we got it wrong, and we're fixing it.
In a document with the company logo on it, Kuniskis also added, Ram will continue to offer the more powerful and more efficient Hurricane Straight 6 Turbo, but we heard loud and clear from consumers, there is no replacement for the iconic Hemi V8. Data be damned. We raise our flag and let the Hemi ring free again. The 5.7-liter Hemi V8 returned to the 2026 Ram 1500 lineup across nearly every trim. Tradesman, Bighorn, Express, Warlock, Laramie, Limited, and Longhorn. Ram logged 10,000 pre-orders after the announcement. The returning Hemi delivered 395 horsepower and 410 pounds per foot of torque, with the e-torque system adding up to 130 pounds per foot of supplemental torque on throttle tip-in. Ram also put a fender badge on every Hemi-powered 2026 truck. The badge is called the symbol of protest. Ram, the company that pulled the engine, designed a badge mocking the decision to pull the engine, then bolted it to the truck that proved the decision was wrong. That's not marketing, that's therapy. Customer Revolt explains half of it. The other half is bigger, and it didn't come from a dealership. Nobody planned for this part. While Ram was reversing course, the regulatory structure that had forced the decision was being dismantled from above. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act eliminated CAFE enforcement fines, and that made elimination retroactive to 2022. The financial penalties that had been driving every major automaker away from large displacement engines for the better part of a decade were wiped out, not going backward, not paused, not reduced, eliminated, with 3 years of retroactive relief attached. Every fine Ram had been trying to avoid since 2022 became legally irrelevant. That's the regulatory equivalence of getting a speeding ticket, going to court, and finding out the speed limit no longer exists. The compliance math that justified pulling the Hemi, the math that made a V8 engine look like a fine on a ledger instead of a product on a lot, became unenforceable overnight. The threat that had shaped every powertrain decision, every lineup announcement, every engineering budget for years was gone. Which is the kind of news that makes a room full of automotive executives go quiet for a minute. Ram wasn't alone in making this mistake. Mercedes-Benz replaced the V8 in its AMG C63, one of the most respected performance sedans in the world, with a turbocharged 4-cylinder hybrid. The AMG C63 is a car that people buy specifically because it has a V8 and sounds like it. Replacing the V8 with a 4-cylinder is like buying a steakhouse and making it vegan. The customer response was immediate and severe. Mercedes has since admitted the decision was wrong and is developing a new V8-powered CLE63 to correct it. Two brands, two different continents. Same answer from customers. General Motors invested $888 million to convert its Western New York propulsion plant, a facility that had been retooled for EV battery production, back to V8 engine manufacturing for trucks. GM took a $1 billion EV bet, looked at the spreadsheet after the cafe fines disappeared, and decided the bet was wrong. Then they converted the plant back. In an industry where admitting mistakes takes years, GM moved almost immediately, which tells the story faster than any press release. The regulatory risk dropped to zero. The trucks were already the most profitable product in the lineup. Industry data shows that large displacement V8 engines in full-size truck applications carry higher per-unit margins than their turbocharged 6-cylinder replacements, which means Ram was pulling its most profitable engine to avoid fines, while selling a less profitable replacement to customers who didn't want it. That strategy had a limited runway. Ford added a new supercharged trim to the V8 Mustang Dark Horse. Porsche is developing a next-generation V8 specifically engineered to survive 2030's emission standards. Cox Automotive reported that American consumers spent $15 billion on full-size pickup trucks in a single month. $15 billion. In December. On trucks. The V8's obituary was apparently filed prematurely. The money that Ram, GM, Ford, and Dodge made selling V8-powered trucks and SUVs throughout this entire period, the record profits from the very engine they were publicly retiring, was being funneled into the electric vehicle programs designed to replace it. The engine they were phasing out was paying for its own funeral. Every Hemi that sold paid a small contribution toward the Hurricane that was supposed to replace it. The funeral got canceled, and the guests are buying pre-orders. Here's the actual verdict. The V8 was never dying because the technology was obsolete. It was being killed, deliberately, systematically, and with full corporate confidence because the rules made it expensive to sell. The moment those rules lost their teeth, and the moment customers proved they would defect rather than accept a replacement, the entire premise fell apart. 40% of Ram's buyer base was willing to walk over one powertrain decision. Not price, not reliability, not interior tech. An engine. That number broke the strategy from the inside. The companies that announced the V8's death didn't kill it. The customers didn't let them. And when the regulatory math stopped working, GM converted a $1 billion EV plant back to V8 production. Mercedes reversed its flagship performance sedan. And Ram CEO stood in front of a press release and used the word screwed. The company that declared the V8 absolutely numbered is now stamping a protest badge on its fender to celebrate the engine's return. The badge was designed by the same brand that pulled the engine. They made merchandise out of being wrong. Honestly, respect. The V8 didn't die. The people who were supposed to kill it blinked first. But the V8's comeback is happening inside a global automotive industry that is still moving toward electrification everywhere else. American automakers are making a calculated bet. Sell V8s profitably at home. Let the rest of the world go electric and figure out the global competition problem later. It's the same bet Detroit made in the 1970s when Japanese imports arrived. Those automakers also thought the domestic market was enough. History is very clear about how that one ended, and it did not end with a protest badge. This is just the beginning. If this is your first time here, I investigate the stuff about American cars that nobody else will. Hit subscribe because this rabbit hole goes deep. Oh, and do drop a comment. What's the one engine sound no Turbo 6 will ever replace?